Langue Zansèt Nou, the tongue of the unbroken. Where did Kreyòl Haitian come from? It was born in a fire, not in a classroom, but in the burning cane fields of Saint-Domingue, not shaped by scholars, but forged by survivors, not written in ink, but carved into memory, passed from mouth to mouth, whispered through pain, and cried out in defiance. And in the 17th and 18th centuries, millions of Africans were torn from their homelands, from the ancient cities of Dahomey, present-day Benin, from the riverbanks of the Oyo Empire, present-day Nigeria, the forests of the Wolof and Sere kingdoms, present-day Senegal, and the kingdoms of Ndongo and Kongo. They carried with them languages older than Europe, for Fon, Ewe, Wolof, Kikongo, Yoruba, Igbo, Mandinka, each rich in poetry, prayer, with rhythm and story. But once in Saint-Domingue, they were forbidden to speak them. Colonial law saw African language as a threat because they were. To silence them was to cut the root of resistance. But our ancestors were not easily silenced. They listened, they adapted, they created. In the brutal reality of slavery, where one group spoke Wolof, another spoke Kikongo, and the masters barked orders in French, a new language emerged, one that used the vocabulary of the oppressor, but the grammar, soul, and wisdom of Africa. They didn't arrive with it, but they built it together, word by word, out of the necessity and the brilliance. A language that could cross tribal lines, a language that could hide meaning in plain sight, a language that could be taught in one generation and carried into the next, a language of survival, a language of solidarity, a language of resistance, a language named Kreyòl. It didn't come from textbooks. It came from the human need to connect and liberate. It wasn't taught, it was lived. It wasn't allowed, but it persisted. And in that persistence, it became more than just a tool to communicate. It became a spiritual inheritance, a living, breathing testimony that our people, even in chains, could create something entirely their own. Not a copy, not a translation, an entirely new expression of freedom. Kreyòl Haitien, born in bondage, raised in resistance, carried in our breath ever since. Now let's take a quick look at the blend. What makes up Kreyòl? French words, African grammar. Yes, most of the vocabulary, the words come from French, but don't be fooled. Kreyòl is not broken French. It is reconstructed African genius using the materials of the oppressor. The words are French, but the structure, the foundation, is African. No verb conjugations, no gendered nouns, no silent letters, or unnecessary complexity. It's a language designed for clarity, function, and connection, not for colonial approval. So let's compare Kreyòl versus French. Take the verb to have, avoir in French, gagner or gain in Kreyòl. They are interchangeable between the two of them. For present tense, as a first example, French goes, j'ai, tu as, il, elle a. Kreyòl goes, mwen gen, ou gen, li gen. English is, I have, you have, he, she has. In French, every subject changes the verb. In Kreyòl, one form, always simple. Another example, past tense. French, same verb, avoir. Remember that. It's j'avais, tu avais, nous avons. Kreyòl is mwen te gen, ou te gen, nou te gen. And in English, that's I had, you had, we had. In French, past tense has conjugation plus auxiliary plus past particle. In Kreyòl, you just add te, a particle, and you're done. Let's do one more. Future tense. French is, remember, same verb. I've not changed. We're saying the same verb. Now in future tense. J'aurai, tu auras. We're not going to go further, but there's more. Nous aurons, blah, blah, blah. In Kreyòl, it's Mwen pral gen ou pral gen. English is I will have, you will have. Now I don't want English to get all feeling all fancy. Y'all, it's all languages are beautiful, but English is still more complicated than Creole. Y'all remember the past tense where it was had. So now it's changed. So now we've changed back to have, but it was had earlier. But in French verbs, however, have over 40 forms. The simplicity of Creole is its brilliance. Creole verbs, usually just one. And we mark time with particles like te, which we saw, past, pral, which we just saw, future. And the other ones are ap, present continuous. Example, Mwen ap gen sa. This is where French is funny. Je vais avoir ça. English is I'll have this. You may be asking, where did vais come from? And why is avoir not conjugated? Vais is the verb aller in French, which is go in English. We do not need to go down this rabbit hole at this time right now. But for Creole, back to Creole, ta is another example of another particle. It's conditional. Si ou ta gen ça. French, si vous auriez cela. Auriez is again another conjugation of the verb avoir. And that means in English, if you would have had that. For Creole, this is not laziness. This is streamlined intelligence, passed down from African grammar systems that value aspect over tense, rhythm over rigidity, and clarity over complication. Now let's talk about language as liberation. While the French used language to divide and control, our ancestors used Creole to unify and organize, to pray, to plot, to protect each other. Boukman's prayer, Creole. The revolution, Creole. The hope, Creole. Even when French was made the official language of Haiti, even when Creole was all but banned from schools post-revolution, it lived, it thrived, because Creole is more than words. It is resistance and rhythm. Now let's be real. Haitians don't just speak Creole. We read in French, work in English, understand Spanish, and joke in Creole, sometimes all in one conversation. We were never given the luxury to know one language or the language of our communities. We were forced to master many just to navigate this world. And we did. We mastered them. We are not linguistically disadvantaged. We are linguistically armored. Our tongues carry Africa, Haiti, and the diaspora all in one breath. Creole is a sound of survival, the grammar of genius, the voice of revolution. And every time we speak it, we're doing more than just remembering the past. We're protecting the future. Parler Creole, enseignez-le, chantez-le. Faites sonner dans tout espace noué. Because if French is the language of colonizers, then Creole is the language of liberation. And if this moved you, come be a part of something real. Join us at Haiti Thrives event on June 29th at Power Boxing in San Diego. There'll be music, Caribbean food, a free boxing workout, and voices that rise for liberation. Come in person or tune in online. Let's honor Creole, our ancestors, and our collective future. Link in bio, and visit HaitiThrive.org to RSVP and learn more.